Cars Channel News and Review Car.
Audi S5 Coupe First Drive Review. Huge power and a roaring exhaust used to be enough for car obsessives, but now we want a trunk full of tech, too. 21st century muscle cars like the Ford Mustang only manage the first half of that equation, and even then only if you pony up for the gas-guzzling V8 engine, not the disappointing, and not all that economical, EcoBoost. That's why I'd rather be behind the wheel of one of these, Audi's latest S5 Coupe. It's got plenty of straight-line power for racking up those motorway miles, but can handle itself in the corners too thanks to Quattro all-wheel drive, and has all the gadgets you'd expect. If looks could kill, there's no escaping it, this second-generation S5 looks mean on the roads. Audi's signature styling might not have changed too radically from the original model, but a low-profile, wide front grille and flared rear, complete with angry-looking and even angrier-sounding quad exhausts, give quite the first impression. You won't want to see one of these creeping up in your rearview mirror. I'm sure the four-door fastback version will end up the bigger seller, but it doesn't stand out on the road as much as this sleek two-door coupe. If you like to be noticed behind the wheel, this will definitely do the job. Angular rear windows, bulging side skirts and that wide rear might not be as radical as a Dodge Challenger or Chevy Camaro, but I still think it holds its own against the current crop of US import muscle cars, too. Easy rider. It doesn't feel nearly as wide or cumbersome on UK roads as a Mustang, despite being a close match if you break out the tape measure. Audi has absolutely nailed the driving position, and there's more than enough visibility, even if you do still sit lower than most of the other cars on the road around you. Things stay surprisingly comfortable in dynamic mode, and it rides over the bumps and holes you'd expect from any UKB road very well in comfort mode. I could go on about how the 8-speed Tiptronic gearbox easily shifts fast enough for all kinds of road driving, even if it likes to upshift sooner than I'd like in dynamic mode. Fuel economy is clearly still a priority, even when you're hooning it. You can always take over and do things manually with the wheel-mounted shifters, anyway. Take a seat. The low-slung sports seats drop you snugly into the cabin, which wraps around you thanks to a raised center console. It should look familiar if you've been inside practically any Audi in the last few years, which isn't a bad thing. Every surface feels premium, with no cheap materials. The flat-bottomed sports steering wheel is an optional extra, but I definitely think it's worth spending the cash on. It makes it much easier to get in and out, if you're 6 feet or taller like I am, and has perfectly placed palm rests for a controlled driving position. Forget what your driving instructor taught you, this is definitely better than having hands at 10 and 2. With virtually every option fitted to this press demo car, I had everything you could want in terms of comfort. Think 3-zone climate control, heated seats that massage your back in 3 different ways, and mood lighting you can tweak to suit your mood. Driving angry? Maybe a calming blue will ease that lead foot and slow you down. Screen test. You'll spot the first must-have gadget as soon as you drop into the driver's seat. Virtual cockpit has been an Audi party trick for a few years now, but it gets better with every version, and this latest one is as good as it gets. Essentially replacing the entire instrument cluster with a high-resolution TFT screen, Virtual Cockpit lets you completely customize your view of the speedometer, rev counter, gear indicator and trip computer, and duplicates the infotainment system from the center console. A walk in the park. You don't need to rely on Virtual Cockpit, either. Just look straight ahead and the optional heads-up display beams the most important information straight onto the windscreen. With your current speed, the current speed limit, and any driving directions right in your line of sight, you never feel distracted, even when you're in the middle of nowhere. At night. With no idea how to get home. Believe me, I've been there. You can't move it very far around the windscreen, but it never felt obtrusive. It'll start flashing if you're consistently driving above the speed limit, but come on, you shouldn't be doing that in the first place. Brightness is easy enough to tweak, and you can turn it off altogether if you like, but I pretty much left it on all the time. Heads-up displays are going to be big in the future, so you might as well get used to them now. Phone home. The S5 also supports Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, so you can hand over control of the center console screen to your phone instead of Audi's own infotainment system. This is great for adding streaming music or voice controls. Just plug your phone into the USB ports hidden under the driver's armrest and you're good to go. No syncing, no nonsense. Your phone's app will appear as an option in the main menu, and you can jump in and out of it whenever you like. Handy for having music from your phone, but navigation done through the car's own systems. Audi S5 Coupe, 2017, initial verdict. Is the S5 overkill for most people? Probably, but then so is a 75 in 4K OLED TV, and I know I'd rather have one of those than a 1080p supermarket special. You won't see many on the roads, so you'll stand out in a sea of Mercs and Beamers, and you'll have a lot more tech to play with inside the cabin. Virtual cockpit is still the benchmark all other car companies have to match when it comes to digital dashboards, and adding things like Android Auto and Apple CarPlay to the mix only makes them better.